Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Soaking in the stunning views of Lake Victoria, we're in Kisumu region for the Great Debaters Contest. I am Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. We have a very sensitive topic of democracy that we're tackling today. So is democracy the right form of governance for some African states? We'll have the debaters tackle this motion from Lela High School and Kisumu Girls. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
I will not just sit here and listen to your rubbish playing in double tune in my head. Tunaomba uwepo wako uende nasi. That is the voice of a mere citizen whose views were not taken into consideration. And so that takes us to the definition. What is democracy? Democracy is a rule of the people, by the people, and for the benefit of the people. I repeat. Of the people, by the people, and for the benefit of the people. And what is governance? A method or system of government or management. Has democracy benefited us in any way? Can anybody mention where democracy has benefited our country? First of all, it encourages class struggle and corruption. Those who possess money are able to influence people to vote for them, and later they pass laws that protect their own interests. And then it is not easy to find sincere and honest leaders. We elect people thinking that they are good. We elect them thinking that they're going to protect our rights. And then at the end of the day, we cry, Haki yetu, haki yetu. Why? Because you did not elect the right person. And then you claim that you need democracy. Is democracy helping us? And then it is often slow and wasteful. Consultations have to be made. We invest a lot so that we might have the elections to get the laws that we want. And then at the end of the day, are all the rules implemented? Do we benefit in any of them? I have a quote that says, although democracy is regarded as a rule of the people, although democracy is regarded as the rule of the majority, in practice, it is the elected minority who rule. Let us for once sit and reconsider if we really need democracy. Let us sit and see if democracy will help us. We need to get a way out. We need to find a way that is going to help us out of the state that we are in right now. And that is Marian Buyu from Kisumu Girls High School. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your opening statements.
Oh, yes. My name is Onyango Godfrey. I'm from Lela Secondary. And I won't be wrong when I side with this pioneer who stated democracy to be the rule of people, for the people, and by the people. First and foremost, in a country, if there is democracy, there will be fair and equal treatment of everyone and their right to take part in decision making. So, as in the fight of justice and democracy, citizens of such state have the opportunity to condemn practices which are contrary to their rights. For example, their grievances, they are able to view them out through the leaders whom they specifically elected. Secondly, truly, when a leader understands the virtues of democracy, he will fight against issues containing prejudicial matters. For example, corruption. A leader who understands the need for democracy in a state will always side for the people who elected him or her. Thereby, the people who are in a state where it's governed by democracy, they are always better off compared to the states that have a system where they are being dictated. So, I can say democracy is the best way to rule a country. Secondly, democracy It strengthens the relationship between the governors and those who are governed. For instance, when a leader wants to govern a nation, he must pass through the people. This is through the public vote. He has to look for votes to the people. Thereby, the people elects you willingly. There's nothing like you dictate them or you pressurize people in order to give you the votes. So, democracy strengthens the relationship of the governors, those who govern them, and those who are governed, in that they air out their views through public opinion, and the leaders now, those who govern them, they represent them in that nation. Lastly, I can speak of when a country exercises democracy, there is free and fair elections, since the member has the freedom to elect. In a country, any leader, he or she thinks suits the position well, which may not be the case in some African states. Thank you.
We'll now hear rebuttals, beginning with the proposers. You have 3 minutes.
Haki yetu. Haki yetu. Solidarity forever. This is the cry of a democratic country. This is the cry of fellow Kenyans every month. Doctors out there every day crying haki yetu. We want high salaries. And this is what we call democracy. My counterpart, this is what we call democracy. Is this real democracy? Mecken is a famous philosopher, and he says, democracy is based on assumption that all wisdom rests with inferior fourth-fifths of mankind. Decidedly, intellectuals and wise people are in minority. We all know that democracy is the rule by the people, for the people. It is only bent for the benefit of the people. Look at Kenya. Elections, 2007 elections. Old people from the countryside were taken to vote. Young people, youths were taken to vote. And the voting only depends on what we think. Are we sure that all these leaders that you are choosing, are we sure that they are good? Are we sure that they are going to lead us well? What is the aftermath of democracy? Our many leaders, we often complain. They are not intellectuals. There came a company of people, a company of experts, to try and look at the educational requirements and status of our leaders. What was the outcome? Many of them were not intellectuals. Many of them had not read enough. Many of them were not professionals. This is what we call democracy. Is this what we call democracy? Democracy is mainly bent on corruption. Unhealthy political compromises are made, coalitions formed, throwing all principles to the wind. Just a few months ago, it happened in the Kisumu county government. Hordes of county leaders were taken to the cell. Why? Because they took county money, they went and had fun in Mombasa. Is that what we call democracy? Is that what we call leadership? Why can't we be flexible? Why can't we see that democracy is not working in Kenya? Why can't we see that democracy is not working in Africa? Take what is happening with Robert Mugabe, a 90-year-old president. A 90-year-old president. We all want leaders we want fresh leaders. We want leaders who can give us the way. We want leaders who can give us a picture of the nation. Democracy is not working in Kenya. And I leave you with this. Does the vote really make one free if you do not believe in it? Being able does not necessarily mean that one has realized wisdom. The same way, being able to vote does not mean one has realized freedom. If democracy is not working, let us be flexible. Let us change it. Let us realize our African dream. Thank you.
Opposers will now hear your rebuttal. You also have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Beryl Muga from Lela Secondary School. I arise to oppose the motion that states, democracy is the right model governance for some African countries. And I contradict the statement by saying that democracy is the best model governance for the African states by the following reasons. First of all, democracy enhances peace and harmony in the countries. This is because the counterparts or the stakeholders are aware of their rights, their obligation, and cooperation in the country. This is evident in Kenya, a country like Kenya. We normally hold the general elections, whereby you can see, all of us can see that democracy is being practiced. On to my second point, democracy promotes patriotism, because those in the powers and the policies they make are born of the consent of the citizens. This is evident in Kenya again, whereby you cannot be discriminated upon by anybody in the Kenya, because everybody is aware of their rights, which are clearly stated in the Kenyan Constitution. The third point is that democracy balances liberty of the citizens with the powers of the state. People give their consent, or rather, the citizens, they give their consent in the states. And the leaders of the state, they practice their obligations by practicing democracy, and they also ensure that everybody is ruled equally. Please, everybody in the house, think of a Kenya or our country where democracy is not being practiced. What will happen to our country? Please think of that. Thank you.
Mimi ni Mkenya, M-Pesa ni Kenya. M-Pesa ni yetu, ukikosa bank, M-Pesa iko. Ukitaka loan, mkopo iko. Ingia haraka, M-Pesa ni yetu.
Daima mimi Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap, or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
The audience has posed questions to the two teams on stage. The proposers have been asked, how is Robert Mugabe's age related to bad leadership purportedly caused by democracy? And of course, the opposition have been asked, does bad leadership come into power only through democracy? We'll have them respond to the questions now. Proposal number 3, you have 3 minutes.
It is difficult to make a difference when you walk the path of the majority. Let me tell you one thing. When you are 90 years old and you want to lead 30-year-old people, those are young people who want a change. You cannot get that change if you do not want to give them a chance. Let me tell you this as to answer your question. If I am that old and I want to do something which 30-year-old people are not agreeing with, 30-year-old people do not agree with, they will not be happy with it. Let me tell you that for once. We do not like having old presidents. That's a fact. For real, we do not like having old presidents. I hope I've answered your question. Last year, I was told that a family lost a young man. He was a 30-year-old boy, and he was a journalist. He had gone to shoot some story in Libya after the death of Muammar Gaddafi. Libyans wanted democracy, so they decided to remove their dictator, Muammar Gaddafi, so that they can get their democracy. But what happened? The country is in chaos. Egypt is in chaos. I do not even want to think about the chaos that is in Egypt. Why? Because democracy is not fit for that country. Libya has been stable. Libya has been stable with Gaddafi for 40 years. Imagine 40 years of peace, 40 years of people having to do things which they can do, despite the fact that Muammar was a dictator. I do not agree with the fact that countries like Swaziland and Lesotho are surviving and are continuing on this planet, yet countries like Egypt are suffering because they decided to choose the other direction, the direction of democracy. Please, can we just open our eyes and see the fact that some countries just don't deserve to have democracy. Africa, democracy is not meant for some countries, probably for some other countries, but not countries like Egypt, countries like Nigeria, where Boko Haram are terrorizing their own president. Good luck, Jonathan. Please, open up your eyes, you guys, and try to notice that democracy may not be the right form of governance for some African states. The examples are quite clear in your eyes, and you have to think about it. Thank you.
Opposition, you also have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
Bad leadership, if I can answer the question, is not that bad leadership comes as a result of democracy. The reason why I'm saying this is, we find that once a country is democratic or is ruled through democracy, we find that citizens have ability to condemn all the evils that are done by the leaders. This one will give the opportunity for the leaders, for the citizen, to condemn all the bad evils that may be done or malpractices that can be done, especially misappropriation by the leaders. Therefore, we can't say that democracy will give power for the bad leadership. In that case, we say that democracy will tend to correct the bad leadership. Most of African states are governed, they are governed aristocratically, different kinds of models of governance. But we see now, when we consider democracy, it have a lot of benefits to some African states. Now, for instance, I can support what I'm saying by the following reason. We found that in a state that practice or that is governed democratically, we find that there must be election that is done, and the leaders are elected with the majority rule. It is done by majority rule. The majority votes is the one that will be used to elect the leaders. Now, after the election of leaders, we find that there will be a party that will be leading and the party that will be opposing. For example, our state, the opposing party tend to correct the ruling party in case where they don't practice the right way of governance, that is democracy. My second point is that there are some leaders that after election, and they are now in the throne, they don't practice the right leadership. Therefore, the citizens have authority and they have ability to impeach such leaders by what we call a vote of no confidence. My third point is the principle of equality. You here, I would like to ask you that, we have different colors in this room. We have blue color, we have red color. I'm seeing different people with different colors of clothing. Is there anyone who has been underrated in one way or the other in this country? Therefore, it brings me to support the motion by saying that through principle of equality, everybody is given fair chances to elect their leaders and to condemn them. And lastly, corruption has been condemned by most of our citizens as a result of democracy. Thank you.
We'll now hear closing statements, beginning with the proposers. You have 1 minute.
Democracy in South Africa. A government of careerists, opportunists, self-seekers, and demagogues. What has it cost? Xenophobia, killing of foreigners, the aftermath of democracy, enmity between countries. Is this what you are fighting for? I might not be convincing enough. I might not be your choice, but at least my voice is not noise. Let us look at it with the brighter picture. Let us picture an Africa that we are proud of, a motherland that is peaceful and united. Noel Cynthia Nyango, Kisumu Girls.
Opposers, you also have a minute for your final submission.
Okay. Democracy as at par, I can say, is a role governor to many states. My opposers, imagine a country without democracy. It seems that's what you are speaking about because you are against democracy. So imagine Kenya today, we decide that we go at loggerheads. I can say for that matter, there's no democracy. Who will rule who? For me, the citizens have the opportunity to view out their grievances, points, and the leaders also. They don't just rule with their, they don't just rule because they have to consider other people. So to me, when citizens get the opportunity to elect leaders according to their choices and will, thereby democracy is a model governance to some states, and it involves all the citizens to come together as one and render out their popular vote together. My name is Onyango Godfrey from Lela Secondary. Thank you.
For the two speakers at the beginning, I think you did well, each a different style, to the motion. Noel, Cynthia, again, good beginning. My challenge was that you did not cross-examine the opponent because they have said certain things that you could have challenged, but you didn't do that. One of the things that I really wanted to hear from Kisumu girls are you speak to some data or some research, and I think this is with reference to Noel, the research that was done that showed that most of the leaders are not well read, are corrupt or something to that effect. What was this research, and any examples then, to be able to bring the point home? I think Monica tries to do that when she talks about President Mugabe of Zimbabwe, but you did not answer the question. You make reference to him, but you didn't answer the question that came from the audience. But I must commend you for, a good job today. All the best to the two schools.
Onyango, you start off the team well. You're very confident as well. But, the question was, democracy is better than dictatorship. But sometimes I'm quoting some of the things that you said. But the question that I was left asking myself is how? It is very easy for you to just tell us how, by simplifying or even taking one example and telling us where it has worked. Quite some good points though. I just love your confidence when you come to the stage, and of course your delivery. And there's that particular presence I was saying that you really built of yourself. Nonetheless, just work on your flow, the way you deliver. Organize yourself so that you don't stutter at all. You just come across and deliver your points. So all the best to the two teams.
Kisumu girls, the bigger question here is, now that democracy does not work in some of those African states, what do you propose instead? Do you propose monarchical governments? Do you propose panel of experts that are appointed to govern the country? Do you propose dictatorial kind of governance? Possibly those are some of the things that you could have raised in order to provide solution to the problem that is experienced in the status quo. Lela Secondary, again, good examples, fairly good examples, let me say, beginning with Godfrey, to set the ball rolling for your team. At the same time, Muga, I loved the rebuttal. Not the rebuttal, actually. It is the other way around. Rebuttal was not done. You actually came and offered points to support the motion, but you did not do the rebuttal. So as the first debater, take note of your greater responsibility, and that is to offer rebuttal. To the two teams, it was a fair presentation.
Kisumu Girls High School, the judges awarded you 63%. Please give them a round of applause. Lela Secondary, the judges awarded you with 69%. You are our winners for the debate.
Good work to both teams, and of course, congratulations to Lela Secondary. We'd like to thank all of you for tuning in and watching the Great Debaters Contest, and keep watching it. Of course, our gratitude also goes out to Safaricom M-Pesa and to KBC Channel 1. Follow us on Twitter at Great Debaters EA. I have been your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyambok. Catch you next time.
Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.